Jimmy, looks like you did another good job for me, following my crazy direction. I can't believe that you actually interpret what I want half the time.
Should be able to just turn it up.
Yeah, I can. Ready?
Yep.
Oh yeah, right out of the way. You had it pretty tight up here.
Yeah.
I'm going to back it off.
Yeah.
So what we did with this new bumper style is we kind of gave it a Road Warrior look. We kept the face of it the same dimension all the way around, and then the bottom we kind of tapered off. We've got a headlight height law, which is 55 inches. And of course these aren't going to work like our other limo truck. We had to block them out with some baby moons. So I found these at Checker Auto for $99 a piece. They're HIDs. It's a pretty cool light. It's got like a mile of light it'll throw where you can see where you're going. We have a 7-inch HID for our high beams. I'm going to use these 4-inch HIDs for our low beams, otherwise it'd be blinding everybody coming at us. So I think that's a pretty good addition to the bumper and for the lighting solution. This is a Cummins ISL 8.8 liter engine that came out of an 04 Spartan motorhome. It's a big pusher motorhome, one of those $500,000 ones. It was all burned up. I bought it at an auction. Pulled the engine and transmission out of it, and we transplanted it into this thing. So we got about 400 horsepower and 1,250 foot-pounds of torque. And I think that's going to provide plenty of horsepower to make this thing roll down the road. So what I've done with the steering box, conventionally the steering box is usually ahead of the axle, like 2 feet, or behind the axle 2 or 3 feet. So the drag link will connect off of the pitman arm and allow the thing to steer left and right. Well, obviously now the steering box is on top of the axle. So my good friend Hot Rod Richie, guy with the blonde hair and the pork chop sideburns, he says, let's do some bell crank steering. And I was like, huh, what the hell is bell crank steering? I've not done a lot of hot rod stuff, but Richie certainly has. I guess the old Model A's had this particular style of steering. So we got the drag link, which ties into the bell crank steering, and this is the bell crank. I took a trailer axle spindle and welded it in here and bolted this bell crank to it. And everything's on the same side. If the drag link was on the opposite side of the spindle, it would steer the opposite way. So it has to all be on the same side. And we got lucky with our support here where the fuel tank goes. The drag link continues down and then connects into the steering arm right down here.
See it. Drag your jack over.
So what we've done is taken off the old wedge brake drum brakes, and I found these Meritor 4-piston calipers up in Phoenix at a junkyard. And then this is a rotor off of a 2002 Freightliner with hydraulic brakes. And of course all the bearing assembly remained the same because I took the brake drum off. Had to do some machine work to match up this flange to the rotor. So this is a great addition here. Whenever we're cornering in a real heavy truck that is kind of top heavy, we need what we call a sway bar. So Sam Sturgis, the guy that owns the Unnamed and Untamed and Nasty Boy monster trucks, he recommended that I build sway bars for this thing. So Jimmy and I, the old guy over there with the gray beard, we came up with this design here, and this is connected to a sway torsion arm and then to another bar on the other side. So when the thing corners, it keeps it pretty flat. It doesn't want to get body roll, what the race guys call it. These are 3-inch coilover shocks with 14 inches of travel, built by ADS Steve Cooker. He's local here in Tucson. This is another great addition for suspension on our truck. However, the coilover by itself won't provide enough of a ride. This is more like an off-road shock, but it's going to work well in conjunction with an airbag. The airbag will give it stability, and of course the shock will make everything behave. Thanks, Steve. You're my hero. So I was over at the junkyard the other day, and I was looking for some hydraulic brakes, hydrostatic, to work on this thing that's compatible with our massive disc brakes. So my buddy Gilbert over there, we go in the back and find a 2003 International. It's an old moving truck. Well, it's not that old, 2003. And I bought this for $200 from him. We had to make a little box here because the rod length was so long, and I didn't want to cut any of that down. I wanted to leave it all this stock in case I had to replace it, not to modify it. So we cut the firewall out, built this little 6x6 tube, welded the bolts inside of here so when we take the nuts off, everything stays together, doesn't drop down inside of it. Me and my buddy JR go up to Las Vegas a couple weeks ago. We go buy a 2003 Freightliner cab because we need all the wiring out of it and air conditioning to work with this Cummins engine and Allison MD3000 transmission. Well, it turns out that the wiring's not going to work. I have to buy all new wiring directly from the motorhome dealership, which this engine came out of, from that 2004 motorhome, whatever it was. But I elected to cut the old Ford dash out, and I cut it out, and then we took this Freightliner dash and cut it out of the Freightliner cab and shortened it 10 inches. Now we've got all the amenities for the air conditioning up in the dash and the heating, and all our wiring will work in here from the Spartan dealership. And that's a steering column out of a 2003 International Eagle. That's like a real high-end semi-truck. It's tilt and telescopic. That's kind of cool.